Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. This episode of Everyone Loves Guitar is brought to you by Taylor Guitars and their new Grand Pacific Round Shoulder Dreadnought. Powered by Taylor's breakthrough V-Class bracing system, the Grand Pacific gives you a warm, seasoned sound with clear low-end power and notes that are stronger, longer sustaining, and more in tune with each other all the way up the fretboard. Make sure you check it out online at taylorguitars.com, then go out and play one today. That's the new Grand Pacific at taylorguitars.com. Did you know if your instrument or any of your gear is damaged, broken, or stolen outside your home, your homeowner's insurance policy will not cover any of it? That's right. Homeowner's insurance only pays if something happens inside your home. But Music Pro Insurance insures all your music gear, no matter where it is, anywhere in the world, even when you check it in as baggage on an airline. Here, let me give you some examples. Let's say you're in a car accident and your equipment is damaged. You're covered. Your kid pours apple juice into your amplifier. Covered. Someone spills beer all over your pedal board at a gig somewhere across the world. Boom, you're covered. Any kind of theft or accidental damage is covered, even water damage from hurricanes and breakage from earthquakes. But here's what makes Music Pro really different. They're not going to argue with you over the value of your instrument or make you run around looking for receipts when it comes time to paying your claim. They know exactly why your vintage instrument is worth 10 times more than a new one. Plus, all claims are typically paid and fully settled in 24 to 48 hours. So if your equipment is not insured properly, go to musicproinsurance.com, hit standard, then enter your information and get a free gear protection estimate. Don't be that player who ignores this, and then next month when something happens, you're wondering why you didn't take 10 minutes to do this properly. Make sure you go to musicproinsurance.com, enter your information, and get a free gear protection estimate. If something happens, you will be thanking me. Trust me on this. musicproinsurance.com. The Be Fulfilled Journal helps you be more honest with yourself and with others, and be more open to handling things you've avoided dealing with for years. It's a 12-week online and journal program that helps you identify and eliminate things you do that are causing you stress and live in more gratitude and joy. It was actually developed by a long-term friend of mine who got sober in 2008, and he's put together a great deal just for my listeners. You get the 300-page hardcover journal and access to the 12-week video program online, plus free shipping, plus membership in a private Facebook support group with others going through the program, plus a 5-day mini course showing you how to let go of stuff that's draining your energy, plus a 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. To start your journey and get all the bonuses, go to BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. That's BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. For more information on advertising on Everyone Loves Guitar, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. We got a great guest today. We're with Pi Jacobs. She's got an absolutely beautiful, warm voice, great singer-songwriter, really intelligent lyrics. And before we get into Pi's background, I just want to give a shout-out to Ted Russell Camp for hooking us up. So, Pi Jacobs, Los Angeles singer-songwriter Pi Jacobs plays what she calls an Americana bluesy rock thing, which is pretty accurate, yeah. Edged by, I like that buzzwords, Americana bluesy rock thing, edged by accents of her urban San Francisco childhood. Enamored of her mother's folk and soul-heavy music collection, she sang throughout school, picking up guitar, bass, and songwriting as a teenager. She got a good story too. She earned her GED and then left high school early, then pursued music studies at the local junior college. After a period of woodshedding, gigging, and recording, she then released her first a debut album. She then spent 2 years in New York before landing in LA, which has proven fertile creative ground and a convenient base for touring. Over 90 US and European dates, including a 5-country European tour, notable appearances at Bristol Rhythm and Roots Festival, Americana Fest, Folk Alliance, and South by Southwest. She's also the winner of the LA Music Critics Best CD Female Award 2015, nominated for LA Music Critics Best Americana Artist 2017, and Reverb Nation's #1 rated artist for Americana in 2018. She's also had more than 60 placements of music licensed to ABC, MTV, Oxygen, Nickelodeon Film, commercials for Macy's, San Francisco Academy of Art, Radio and Retail, EOS Lufthansa Airlines, In-Flight Entertainment, and to date, she's released 6 LPs and 1 EP, including last year's A Little Blue, and she has another album coming up this year, which we'll talk about at the end. Hey, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show, Pi.
Thanks for having me. It sounds so exciting when you read it like that. I'm like, oh, this person.
Everybody says that. You're like, wow.
Well, I was fortunate enough to finally have someone else write my bio, which is life-changing because writing it is like my idea of hell, really.
Really?
So, yeah, it's hard to think about like what are other people going to think is interesting or
right,
cool.
Right.
I mean, I have my things, but yeah.
Plus, musicians they're like allergic to self-promotion and marketing kind of, so it's another thing.
It's the hardest part of the job, I think,
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, so I like that you have an unconventional background and you seem like you like sort of march to the beat of your own drum, which is always attractive for me in a person. What prompted you to leave school early? Because I think that takes a lot of balls.
I was a pretty messed up teenager. I was kind of your classic like latchkey kid that started like drinking and doing drugs way too early.
I feel you.
And so by 16, I had kind of been through a lot of stuff, and I wasn't exactly put into rehab, but I met somebody who was doing a 12-step program, and I just started going because I needed to change things. So I did that. And then at the same time, when I was 16, my mom remarried and moved away. And I was kind of already, before the 12-step thing, I was kind of never going to school anyway, even though I was smart. I only went for my music classes, which was like 3 out of 6 classes. And so, I sort of dropped out, sort of just got my act together at the same time. It was like, well, I'm going to leave. And then I was like, I better take the GED so I at least have something that's equivalent to a diploma. And just started cleaning up my act. And that's what happened.
Man, thank you for sharing that. But you know what? At 16, to have the awareness to say I need to go to, I need to go to NA or AA or whatever, that's pretty like one in literally a million.
No, I know. It's a weird situation, but I needed it. I was born in the Haight-Ashbury, and so I was kind of always around music and drugs and partying and political stuff and unconventional this and that, multiracial, multi-sexual orientation, multi-everything.
Sure.
So part of it was that, at the time I was not doing well with substances, but also there was sort of like me looking for some solidity and like structure in my life. And like I said, that year my mom also got remarried and moved away. And, he was okay. The marriage didn't last, but I was like, I can't move away. I can't go do a new thing again. So I was pretty much on my own when I was 16. Yeah. So, nothing will make you kind of straighten up like having to pay the bills. So,
yeah, but honestly, that's amazing really, truly amazing that I know you said you had to get your stuff together, but at 16 to even know that I got to get my stuff, and then which everybody sort of knows, that shit's out of control, but to take the action step of doing it is obviously really, really hard. At 16, that's just a great story.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is like, I'm super grateful to all that. And I was in like every 12, I had an eating disorder. I went to the one for overeating. Like I went to every single one and pretty much qualified for.
You weren't biased against one addiction.
No,
I'm going to try them all.
Things, codependency and blah, blah, blah. And then eventually I started going to personal therapy, which was helpful also.
Of course.
But the interesting part is that was a long time ago. And I don't actually, I love the 12-step program and I learned so much from it, but I don't go now. I am a social drinker now. And I know that's like not a popular, like a lot of people will say, oh, once you're in, you'll never be normal. For whatever reason, I've just been able to like outgrow that kind of stuff. So,
I don't agree with that. I agree with what you said, how most people say it, but I think this is like an individual thing, and I think it's funny because I've had tons of people come on the show and talk about recovery, and now I'm having loads of listeners emailing or messaging Instagram saying, hey, listen, I really appreciate that. I needed to hear that. I've been suffering, whatever. And to the point where just recently we put these on YouTube as well, the audios, right? And so I said, man, let me put a playlist together of just for people at sobriety stories. And some of the stories on there have been similar to yours. Like, I'll go out and have 2 drinks now. And I said, man, some people are going to say they didn't get sober, but tell them that's bullshit. I think any effort you make, everybody's journey is different. And if they're like going to have 2 drinks and that's because they're not out of control, great.
Right.
Who cares? Like, where's the what do you call it? The hall monitor for this shit, right? Like you do what you do.
I don't think there is one. I think there's just different philosophies, and you got to find your own thing.
Yeah.
So I say that now because I get invited sometimes, like, oh, join the Facebook 12-step recovery, and I'm like, well, I'm not technically a sober person. I believe in the work for sure.
Yeah.
I'd be more, and I don't go to meetings at this point in my life. But I have mad respect. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. That's good. Good for you. That's real. I have tons of respect for you. To start that at 16 is like really quite amazing. I mean,
it was interesting. I was the youngest person in the whole county, which was a trip.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Good for you. That's really great, man. I can't believe this is the fastest opening of an interview where we got into it so quick. Do you know who Vicky Genfan is?
Oh, her name is really familiar.
She's a guitarist who plays in alternate tunings. Really sweet woman. And
yes, I have seen her.
She's great. Really cool. And like, it was the second question with her. She got really deep into it about something. And I was like, whoa, this is quick, but you just like blew the doors off that now.
Yeah. Well, I think it started like before we even get into all that, it was really all about my upbringing. It was really unconventional. Yeah. I lived in 2 communes. I lived in 17 houses, mostly around the Haight-Ashbury before I was 7.
Wow.
So, a lot was happening. My mom was more of a, my husband's parents were also hippies, but they were very political hippies. My mom was more of like a social hippie,
right.
Running the commune or having parties or music, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So,
right.
I guess I had a really unconventional situation growing up.
No, I had a horrible upbringing, so I totally relate to that. And like, I read all these articles about how when this happened to you as a kid, this is the output. And like every time I read one, I'm really grateful because I somehow managed to skirt a lot of that. But doesn't mean I don't have some of those feelings, the impact of that. I don't know if you've had the same thing, like, you overcome stuff, but you could see the gaps that are missing and it's like a lot of the people I talk to, they had really great upbringings. And I see that even more when I talk to someone who had like the normal household, and I identified things that are missing that I don't have, that I will never have. Not that like I'm, going to sleep saying, I wish I had, it is what it is, but I see those gaps missing. I don't know if you have that experience.
Oh yeah. I mean, sometimes I have this weird thing. I mean, the most obvious glaring one is that my parents got divorced when I was 2. And my father left, and he saw me maybe twice. Oh, and then, when I was 19, I went and found him, which was it was a real trip because,
holy shit.
Yeah,
good for you, man. You're a really strong person. I'm digging you, Pi. This is awesome. No, seriously, all this shit you're talking about, it takes a lot. I mean, that. I mean, it doesn't, and I know you're saying these things. I know the decision making that you went through wasn't like, oh, I think I'll go find my dad. I mean, it takes like years of like counseling and all this to have some sort of base of like, I want to do this. It's important because.
Yeah. Well, so I quit drinking and doing drugs when I was 16, and I went and found my dad when I was 19. And somewhere in there, this is great. I was doing the whole 12-step thing. I was in like 5 or 6 12-step programs, and my sponsor said to me, I was doing my steps, and I'm really type A. Like, I'm going to do these fucking steps perfectly. Yeah. I'm just doing it. Like, I just am the model, whatever. And she's like, but she notices that I have this habit of like, I can't keep an appointment, especially if it's something just social, like a friend. Like, I'm like, oh, I feel bad. I canceled at the last minute having coffee with that person or whatever. And same with dating. I just couldn't keep even a coffee appointment. Like, I just couldn't keep it. I don't know, it was like commitment phobia or something. And finally my sponsor's like, listen, you need a kind of help that we are not equipped to give you. You need to talk to somebody about the fact that you can't keep a coffee date, And I was like, all right. So that I went to see someone, and she was great. And then I decided I better go find out what this whole dad thing is all about, and like that is really, I mean, I try to write about other stuff, but a lot of my writing is about that, the wounds and the various this and that. My biggest challenge the last few years is like, I've really tried to branch out from writing about myself and my personal wounds and everything else to writing stories about other people. And my secret is like, if I think of a story that I think deserves telling in a song, is like to find some kernel of that story that I resonate with. Sure. So that there's an emotional honesty to it. But then it can be whatever. Yeah. It cannot be about me. It can be about somebody else. And so I've really gotten into that in the last several albums. And this one that's coming out sometime this year is going to have a lot of stories about people.
That's awesome. Well, like I said, that was one of the first things I noticed. Your lyrics are really intelligent in your songs. I thought it was very, I can see why now, man, all the shit you've gone through, and then you figured out a way how to articulate these things into songs, which is just like awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
It helps understand stuff for sure. And, I think the hardest thing in the world for me personally is to write a love song, because it's I feel really exposed, but B, like, I just want it to mean something. I don't want it to be like your typical thing, but I think we got a good one for this upcoming album. I'm excited about it.
Awesome. You don't have to answer this if you don't want to. What happened when you wound up finding your dad? Did he like own some of that? And if it's too much, that's totally cool.
We can talk about it. It was really hard. He was a pretty messed up individual, which, like walking into that and seeing that as an adult, a 19-year-old going, okay, this guy lives in a basement on the edge of the law, talks about, hunting and shooting and killing things. He was up in Alaska, so it's kind of the Wild West up there.
Sure.
But there's some things that are really off about this guy. And we tried for a couple years to have a relationship, and I just realized it wasn't going to work out. He's unpredictable. I remember one time he just showed up and drove around with me and wanted to go down into this beach area that looked really unsafe. And we were driving around in my car and I'm like, I don't want to go down there. There's all these homeless people and these fires and trash cans and stuff. And he really trying to talk me into going down this dark alley. And finally I said no. So we get back in my car and he takes out a handgun, shoves it under and goes, I guess I won't need that. And
holy shit. So he's like off socially and something's going on there. Yeah.
Wow. For me, I was just like, so what was that for? You were going to shoot somebody in front of me? Bear in mind, I barely knew this person. This was like years into knowing him. And I was like, that was one of the decision makers for me. And then I just decided, I'm glad I went and found out there's some good things about him too. A lot of the artsy stuff that I got going on is definitely from him. And, my mom is artsy too, but it's just important to know. There was this weird sense of recognition the second I saw him. Like, even though I hadn't seen him since I was 7 years old, it was like this, I know exactly who you are.
Wow.
Weird connection. So, but, a couple years in, I was like, I'm not going to continue this because it's not working for me. But
yeah, and there's no history there. It's not like there's an obligation on your part for sure.
I learned what I needed to learn, and then I was like, all right, this isn't a healthy thing.
Wow.
So.
Man, you're so cool. That is great.
You can't make this up.
I know. Did you give yourself a pat on the back at all? Or have you, do you ever look back and say, man, like on a shitty day, you ever look back and say, man, I could have been there and I'm here. So no matter, I'm having a bad day or a bad week or a bad month or whatever, I got to give myself credit here that. Do you ever?
No, I don't, but thank you for saying that.
You should.
Try.
Yeah, you should for sure. Yeah.
I'm like everybody else. I get wrapped up in the here and now and to be grateful. And,
yeah. Oh, you definitely should give yourself, you got to be grateful for that, man. You could be, nuts. So, I'm sure, we're all nuts, but within the range of acceptable nuts,
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you so much for sharing. That was really cool of you. Thank you. I don't even know what else to say. Who wants to talk about music? Your bio said you sang and then you picked up guitar, bass, and songwriting. And my question was, did you have any guidance on that? But I don't assume you had guidance on anything.
Well, you know what? So I was always around music, right? Hippies.
Right.
And I went to this little preschool in the Haight-Ashbury, and they had a choir, and I was always singing. If I talked early and immediately started singing. So when I was 3 years old, I was going to school and I was in this little choir, and apparently I was given some solo, but my mom says that when we went to sing the song, I'd been singing, I think it was Silent Night at home, and I just opened my mouth and like nothing came out, and I don't remember this. Like I've completely blocked it from my memory, but I do. You should. I do remember that I always sang, and then it was choir. And then I got my first guitar when I was 11, and I had some lessons, and then I had a really creepy guitar teacher who my mom had to fire, and I just, and it was in one of those times where there weren't a lot of girls. Like there were guys that would get together and jam.
Sure.
But I was never really invited to be part of that. So when I was playing a little and getting a little better. But when I dropped out of high school, I started going to the junior college and just taking classes. I think I first joined the really crappy jazz band, and then I moved up and then I got into the better jazz band. And at that point, I really fell in love with the bass, so I switched over to playing bass. And learn to read music, kind of late to learn to read music, 16, 17. But I just got really into it. Like, it was the thing that held my interest. And so, 5 years into that, going to the JC, I looked up and I was like, oh, look, I almost have a degree, like an AA degree in music. So I should just finish that. And then I should go away I went to not far to San Jose State to finish that degree because I haven't finished anything yet in my life. So I did. And that was really great because I feel like I had a lot of low self-esteem around not having a high school diploma.
Sure. Hey, let me tell you, man, if you said I had a lot of low self-esteem around anything, you get a pass. I mean, seriously, if there's anybody that gets a pass, it's you. Seriously. I'm good at low self-esteem. But I try to fight it every day. I'm good at low self-esteem. That's like going to be your quote. I'm good at low. Do you happen to know Charlie Hunter?
Amazing. Yeah. I'm from the Bay Area. Of course I know Charlie Hunter. I mean, I don't know him personally, but I've seen him many, many times.
He grew up in a commune, in a hippie commune. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder which one.
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I wonder if you guys crossing paths in a commune thing.
It's quite possible. And then when I was older, we moved to Sonoma County, which is kind of wine country above San Francisco, a couple counties north. And there were a few communes out there that, even though we didn't live in them, we would go and visit. Right.
That's wild. Like, I'm from the Bronx. We did not have communes.
No.
Wow. It's like a whole different world. Wow. Honestly, you're just like so cool. Like, honestly, I'm so impressed by everything you just told me because, no, come on, let's face it. Most people that go through that do not come out whole. They come out pretty scathed and, pretty fucked up from it. And, you've really worked hard, obviously, to get your shit together and to like own some of that and figure out, this is in a state of disrepair. It needs fixing. How do I do that? And there's a lot of work in that most people are not willing to do.
And there's different ways, one of the people I was in the commune with when I was 3, we lived in this commune on Baker Street, which is like from that old song.
By Christopher Cross?
Down Baker Street.
Yeah.
Jerry Rafferty.
Jerry Rafferty, right. Thank you. I knew it wasn't Christopher Cross. Right.
That street.
That's
when
wild.
I was 3 years old. Yeah. And I'm still in touch with this other she's a woman now.
Yeah.
But was a little girl that was my buddy in the commune. And we've had a couple of interesting dinners because we didn't see each other until we were adults. And then we found each other and we're like, oh my God, we have to go to dinner and talk about this. Like, what happened to you after all that? What happened to you? And it's fascinating, Yeah. She has a really different life than I do, but she also has done a lot of soul searching and kind of dealing with that. So,
yeah. But I would bet most of the people there, they had a lot of fallout and did not do that. That's just the way stuff happens,
Yeah, or sometimes people can become super conservative, kind of in that, like, I'm not going to do what my parents do, kind of. Yeah,
but they're also nutty as hell just because they're not, you know what I'm saying? They're going to be nutty,
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I mean, listen, there are some weird things. I mean, really concrete things that you can point out. Like, I went to a hippie school until I was in 2nd grade, and it's a very famous school, the San Francisco Montessori school. And it was expensive to go. I only got to go because my mom taught school there.
Okay.
But I was with all these very wealthy kids, but we didn't learn normal stuff. Like, I showed up in 2nd grade in normal school, and they thought I was stupid for a while because, you know you add it down in columns, 12 plus 12, and,
sure.
And then it's 24 on the bottom. I couldn't do that. I could look at it side by side, like 12 plus 12, 24, like that, because we had been taught to use the abacus.
Right. Montessori is very free form learning, right? Isn't it like it's geared towards what the student's strengths or weaknesses are? something like that?
And like, especially at that time, it was very alternative. There wasn't like standardized this and that. I mean, I remember like we would go camping for a week. That was like science week,
Oh, right.
Fire. We just, and I learned to use the abacus, but
I actually think there's a lot of good things about that, to be honest with you.
No, there really are. Like critical thinking. I mean, I'm sure. And I definitely feel like even though I didn't get formal music training really early, there was always so much music and dance and things around that it just seemed natural for me to do music. Yeah. It seemed like breathing or something. So.
Wow. I'm just like so fascinated by the story. Okay. So when you're playing on your records, what do you're obviously multi-instrumentalist. What do you play and what do you play when you're live instrument wise?
So, I sing obviously, and I play guitar. I played bass for a while, and then when I got more into being more of a singer-songwriter, I switched to guitar and I really love that. And then when I play solo, like I'll play with a band when I have a bigger show or something that warrants the full album production. But a lot of times when I tour, just financially, it's like, all right, you're going to do this by yourself. So when I do that, I have this stomp box that I play that's got like a kick and snare situation.
Yeah.
And I kind of stole the way I play it from this guy, Shaky Graves. I don't know if you know Shaky Graves. He's a fantastic artist out of Austin, Texas. But he introduced me to the idea of playing. There's two drum pedals, like kick drum pedals, on the floor that are attached to these little drums. But I stand in front of them and play with my heels.
Holy smoke.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's really ergonomic. And I feel like once I got the hang of doing that, I started a couple of years ago, it really fills in the solo thing. Because to me, I'm always hearing the drums in my head anyway.
Right,
The groove is a huge part of my writing. So just having a kick and snare there, it sounds a little more like a cajon, but having that rhythm there, I love doing that. So, and actually my last record, A Little Blue, it doesn't have any drums. It just has me playing the stomp box.
Really? Wow. So it's pretty effective and it's your thing now.
Yeah. Well, for that last record, we wanted to make, it was my first record for my new label, Traviana. And I was like, listen, I'm going to come out and work with you guys. They're out in the Blue Ridge Mountains and they have all these amazing players out there. I'm like, I've always wanted to do an acoustic record. Let's do that. So we did that. We used all these great players out there, and it's a really beautiful album, and different for me because I've been doing more like full band, sort of a southern rock thing with 3-part girl background singers and like funky drums and stuff. So so that's out there.
And what's the new album going to be now?
So the new album is going to be back to my full band thing, but we are incorporating some of those really cool bluegrass elements that I got introduced to.
Who did you have some bluegrasses on your last record from that, like from Asheville? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so my label is out in Floyd, Virginia, which is very close to Asheville. It's right on the Tennessee-Virginia border in the Blue Ridges. And so I worked with this producer out there named Aaron Ramsey and used a couple of their guys on dobro, upright bass, mandolin. So that record is my first acoustic record, but also the first time that I used those instruments and just really sort of fell in love. So they have their spot on the new full band record that's coming out too.
That's cool to learn something new and step into something new later on. That's really awesome. And then be open enough to take it on. That's very cool.
Yeah. Well, I knew when I was going to be working, particularly with Aaron Ramsey, like he is a real genius in and of his own right. And he was very open to working with me. So I was like, we got to get in there and really collaborate. If I try to force my thing down their throat, that's not going to work. So we all really like that record a lot and feel great about it. And then for this record that's about to come out, I'm I'm co-producing it with the label head. So we did some recording out there, some recording here in LA. And it's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
It'll be unique.
So I'm like waiting with bated breath now to what adventures you had in New York. At some point you moved to New York. Where did you live when you were there, and what prompted you to move out there? Again, another super ballsy thing to do.
Well, yeah, that was like the first time I ever left home. What happened was I signed a management deal. So some of my records are under Pi Jacobs, and some of them are just under Pi, P-I, if people go look for those. So the first record I ever made with my own songs was in 2001, and I made it in San Francisco, and it got me a manager in New York. And at the same time, he got a small record deal in Europe with a French label. Okay. So all that was going on. The .com crash in 98, whatever. Yep. So my guy, who is still my guy, and I were both like unemployed, and we're like, well, let's move to New York. So we did. And we lived in Chelsea before Chelsea was all super cool.
Yeah. That was interesting area when I was a kid.
Yeah. Well, it was still super gay and kind of like the Castro of New York, but now, of course, Chelsea's super fancy.
I know, it's really, and everything is like when you walk down the streets, everything's been, all the buildings have been knocked over and redeveloped. It's just crazy, man.
Yeah, the High Line, none of that stuff was there.
Yeah. Oh no, it was pretty rough. It was like we didn't go on the west side down in that area,
Yeah. Yeah, but going to New York really was one of the greatest things I did because, and the manager and the record label, like sort of both fizzled out. But what happened was I had been playing bass so much back in San Francisco, and people kind of knew me as a bass player, and I was working a lot, making money playing bass. And so when I moved to New York, I didn't tell a soul that I played bass. And I just started going to every open mic. And, I went to, do you remember Sidewalk Cafe?
Where is that?
It's on Avenue A and like 10th in the East Village.
No, I never really hung out too much in the East Village. I was more of a West Village guy. Downtown.
Yeah. So this place, it was one of those open mics that started at 7 and went till 4 in the morning, and everybody did it. Beck did it. So I go, I stand in line, I get a spot, and this is the week that I arrived in New York, and my clothes didn't show up. So I was literally wearing jeans and my pajama top because that's all I had. And I go and I play, and the guy who the MC is a funny guy. Latch, he said, oh, where are you from? Da, da, da. And I'm like, well, I just moved here, and they had this thing they would do, but I didn't know. He's like, all right, everybody, let's give her a big New York welcome. And everyone in the audience goes, fuck you.
That is a big New York welcome, to be honest with you.
But then they booked me. They were like, we liked you. You're you can play a show.
So they booked you there. Okay, yeah. Great. So,
and then I started just playing and playing a lot in New York City, and that's really where I kind of got my chops as a singer-songwriter. Because before that, I had been a backup person to other people.
Oh, okay. So, what other clubs did you play at?
Oh, well, we played a lot. A couple of friends and I played a lot at Ruby Fruit, which is this lesbian bar.
Now that one I don't know. Sorry. Don't know the lesbian bars.
Yeah,
funny enough.
Arlene's, sometimes pianos, Sidewalk. Where else? CBGB's.
Oh yeah.
The upstairs. And now sort of towards the end of that was Rockwood. And
okay.
I still play often at Rockwood. Whenever I go back, I usually play often.
Really? That's so cool. Wow, that's really cool. Do you know Jim Campolongo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
He's a great. He's got he's had a standing like 14 years or something like that at Rockwood. Yeah. He's an interesting guy. I interviewed him. Really great player, amazing player. So what happened? You left after a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, we just had a really hard time making it in New York.
So much money.
Yeah. I mean, every month we'd get to the end of the month and be like, what happened? But my husband was looking for a job and got offered a job in LA. And I was like, in Northern California, we're sort of raised to hate LA, even though we don't know why. It's kind of this weird rivalry thing. Whereas people in LA are like, oh, San Francisco, it's great. We love it,
Right.
So,
That's
and
funny.
I hadn't really had good experiences touring here before. So I kind of came to LA kicking and screaming. Like I didn't want to go. And then when I got here, I was like, man, it's so relaxing here. Why did I feel that way? Because, there's so much nature. I'm totally a nature girl from where I grew up, and there's more space, and, you're not constantly surrounded by humans all the time, but there's a lot going on. There's so much music. There's, and it's a lot more affordable to live here. So we just.
Than New York.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize.
It's gotten worse.
Yeah.
At the time, we were like, wow, this is like, I got to the end of the week and I still have money in my wallet. What happened?
Yeah.
So I really like LA now, but I was
kicking and screaming. Yeah.
I said to my husband, I said, okay, we'll go for 2 years for this job. And then we're totally going back to New York. End of story. That's all I'm going to do is 2 years.
And then, how many years ago was that?
That was 14 years ago.
There you go.
Yeah.
But so you like New York then? What did you like? The vibe, the energy?
Yeah, the energy, the musical community. I mean, I still think that New York has the best musicians on the planet.
There's some good cats there, man. There's some really good guys there. But LA's got tons of great musicians.
Yeah. And because living is more affordable, a lot of times, you can end up working with someone who's really out of your league. Like my new record, I've got Butch Norton, who's the drummer for Lucinda Williams and the Eels and all that. He's just someone who's, maybe he doesn't feel this way, but I feel is kind of out of my league. But I met him, we became friends, and he's like, all right, I'm interested in your music and I'll play on your record. So that's super exciting.
That's cool.
Some of my previous records have Fredo Ortiz, who was the drummer from the Beastie Boys, on them. So, you have access to a lot of people. And if they like your music and they're into what you're doing, you might get to play with them, which is incredible.
Are musicians that accessible in New York?
I think they are, but I think that I've talked to some amazing cats that are like, if I'm going to play a show with you, I have to charge you like $500. And I'm like, and that's where I can't.
Yeah. Okay.
Like in LA, I feel like there's a little more give and take because people aren't, living in a one-room apartment that they might get thrown out of that is, $3,000 a month.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just a little more chill here.
Yeah. So. I totally get that. Yeah. I cannot believe we were, I think last time we're going back a couple of months, but we were there like 2 years ago and I hadn't kept up on rents or anything. I was asking my buddy, he lives in like a 1-bedroom. And I said, and we were in Chelsea's, I said, what would that cost here? He goes like $3,500. I'm like,
yeah,
fucking kid, $3,500 for a 1-bedroom apartment. That's probably like 800 square feet.
Right.
Holy. And I was just like blown away.
Yeah.
That's like nuts.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is funny. My question said, you've released a lot of music as an indecent artist. I think I meant to say independent artist.
I saw that.
Yeah, you must have been like, God, this guy doesn't even know me. That's kind of rude. as an independent artist who's very decent, actually, what are the biggest challenges of doing that? And more importantly, you're obviously super driven. What's behind that?
Well, so I've been signed 3 times. The first time I made a record, I put it out on my own in the US, and then this French company bought it for Europe and licensed it for Europe. And it kind of nothing happened from that. The second time, the deal fell apart before we even released the record, and I ended up releasing the record myself. The third time, which is the label that I'm with now, happened I met them in 2015, and we released A Little Blue in 2017, the acoustic record. And we're going to release a new record with them this year. So the challenges are, I've kind of done it all, right? I've done everything myself. I've had a manager, I've had a publisher, I've had a couple different labels. The challenge if you're independent is just that it's too much work for one person. Way too much. If you think about how many people work, even at a small label, like my label is pretty small, and there are between 4 and 6 people there all the time. Used to be just me. Yeah. Little old me trying to do it. So that's the challenge. Also, if you're going to hire help, good help costs money, so that's expensive. These are the challenges. It's just, there's too much work for one person. I really love my label that I'm with now. They're small but mighty. And what's cool is that
small but mighty.
Yeah.
I like that.
I met them in the weirdest way. They're out in Floyd, Virginia, which is a town of population 400. And wow. I was playing a gig there. It's part of this thing called the Crooked Road Trail, which is a historical music trail that used to be like, people would go around from little town to little town in these venues and hear like mainly bluegrass and country. And, it's now the state of Virginia is behind it. And there's, I think, some support from the state, but it's just these little venues. And they've branched out to include other things now besides just bluegrass and Americana. But I was playing in Floyd, and this table of people was staring at me, and they stayed for the whole 2 sets. And they came up afterwards and said, would you come sit and have a beer with us? And they said, sat down, and they're like, well, we'd like to sign you. And I'm like, where am I? Like,
yeah.
Los Angeles, and I'm in this little town.
Right.
And, it was the label president, the radio rep, the producer that I ended up working with, and one other person at the table. So they're like, listen, come to breakfast at the studio tomorrow. We'll talk to you. We'll show you what we do. So I got up in the morning, and I had no GPS because there was no cell phone reception.
Oh, that's right. You're in the middle of nowhere in the mountains there.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
So I'm lost. I show up late. They're totally gracious. We have breakfast, and it's the South, so breakfast is 4 hours. 3 hours and 45 minutes of which we don't talk about business. We just get to know each other.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I love about the South. I like that.
Yeah.
The slow pace. So that's how I met them. And I went home and thought about it, and I was like, this is a good thing. And so their story is they started out as a bluegrass label, and they're a very successful bluegrass label called Mountain Fever. At any given time, they generally have like 5 of the top 10 bluegrass songs on the chart.
Wow.
So started doing that. And then the president, Mark, said, man, I need more in my life, more variety. So I'm going to start this Americana label called Traviana. And that's the label that I'm on. So yeah, that's, it's been a pretty good thing for me. I really enjoy working with them, and they really support me artistically. They want me to do what I do, and they believe in what I do. So, ultimately, yeah, would it be great to be with Warner Brothers or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be, but it's also really nice to be with a smaller group that says, hey, we believe in you. We want you to co-produce your record. We want you to hire, Butch Norton and the people that, that you want to work with. So
it's really cool.
Yeah.
Part two of that, what is behind your drive? I get the sense that you're ambitious as hell, but that's not what's behind your doing all this.
Well, I am ambitious. I really want this thing to get bigger and better and reach more people. And there's certain parts of it for myself that I really want to get easier,
Yeah.
that I hope will get easier the more people know my music. I would happily give up the job of booking shows forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Well, I know you booked all that stuff in Europe. I mean, I know how tough that is.
Yeah, it's not even that it's so tough. It's that it's not fun, and it requires doing sales, which I'm not particularly good at.
Yeah.
So what drives me, honestly, it's really the music. I just really love playing. I love writing. I love singing. I love that connection that you get with an audience. There's really, I feel like I'm one of those very unbalanced people in that some people are like, oh, well, I can draw a little bit and I'm really good at, square dancing or something.
Sure.
Right. Several things. I've always done music, ever since I was 3 years old. I have a few other interests, but I'm kind of a one-trick pony, you know what I mean?
I think very few people are excellent at more than one thing. I mean, it's really hard to be great at one thing. You meet occasionally people. I don't think that's the norm. I think that's really rare in my experience anyway. It's to find someone who's good at multiple things is weird.
But my mom is awesome and she's fluent in Spanish, but she's always like, my one greatest regret is that you haven't learned Spanish. And,
my God.
I really have no
Let me tell you, if I was your mom, nothing against your mom, the last thing I'd be regretting is that you didn't learn Spanish. She should be kissing your ass that you're not a mental patient. Oh my God. You're not in the post office or something like that. Wanted. Seriously. Oh my
Truly,
God.
not on a milk carton. It's great.
Yeah, right. The standards are low. When you come from that kind of a nutty environment, baseline's low, man. I'm not on a milk carton. I made it. Seriously, that's the way it is.
Oh, no. She's super supportive of my music. But when she says that, I'm like, God, yeah, why haven't I learned Spanish? Because she took me to Mexico for 3 months when I was 7. I should know Spanish. Honestly, I really should. And I can understand, but I'm terrible at speaking. So I think, the reason is because I'm not that motivated for it. Yeah. I'm so motivated for anything music. Even weird things. I didn't grow up with a piano in the house. So a few years ago, I got a piano. And it's kind of a joke, as an adult sitting there learning scales and trying to learn to read on the piano and everything. But I will sit there for hours and do that because I just get I get a little obsessive about it. It's the same thing with playing guitar or writing a song or whatever. But that's what I get obsessive about. I don't get obsessive about cooking or rock climbing or any other. It's all music.
That's great. Hey, good for you. That's wonderful. That's really cool. If you had to go back and maybe give yourself advice, what advice would you have liked to have received, assuming you would have listened? Doesn't necessarily be music. Could be anything. Music, business, personal music, anything.
At what age? You mean like as
a 20-year-old, 25-year-old?
I would tell myself to not be afraid, because everything's going to turn out all right. And to take myself seriously, because I think for a long time in the beginning, I didn't take myself seriously. I was battling that whole, low self-esteem thing, but sure. I didn't, because I was obsessive and I was doing music all the time. I was doing it all the time, but I think I didn't really, something changed around the time of my first record, so 2001, where I started to think, oh yeah, I do have something to say, and I do have these songs that people want to hear. And yeah, maybe I'm not Aretha Franklin, but people seem to like to hear me sing. So, Well,
you seem like you do believe in your music.
I do, yeah, at this point. And that's just, years of working at it and hopefully getting better at it. And then just, watching, observing what other people do, what works and what doesn't.
But I think that's really important, especially coming from the background that you came in, that you do believe in that. I think it's really important. And I think it's great, and you should, but it's that you do is, we know what you should and what you should do, what should happen and what does happen are not always one and the same,
Well, listen, I have my bad days, I work, vocals are always hard, right? When you're recording vocals, because it's like, you can do a show and as a singer, you feel great and, you're having a really good moment and all that. But when you're in the studio, it's all about microing. Like, is every little breath, every little note, every little thing perfect? And that's always hard on your ego. And I always hit a point at every record where, usually during the vocals, but not always, sometimes it's during mix, where I'm like sitting there listening. I'm like, is anybody going to like this? Because right now I can't stand it.
That's tough. Yeah. But
you're listening to it for, repeat after repeat.
It's tough. I interviewed a guy named Sean Chambers, really cool dude. He's actually from around here. He's a blues artist. And he said something one time about that. He said something like, man, when you're in the studio, it's just you and those headphones. And you've got a tough decision to make. You get feedback from no one.
Right.
Yeah. And that was the tough thing. It's like, what do I do? Is this ready? Is it not ready? And yeah, you have a producer, but it's you and the headphones. That's it. There's no way to gauge. And it's a big sort of crapshoot in a way because of that.
Well, I know that I hit a sweet spot where, like, I know when I've done the best I can do, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, that's great.
And sometimes that takes a while. Sometimes you have to redo things a couple times. Sometimes it just happens, and that's the one we all love, right? But not always. You might have to redo and redo. But I get a feeling. Usually, it's like, the first feeling is like, there's nothing wrong. That's the baseline. There's nothing wrong. And then there's like, does it transcend? Does it go to that magical place?
Yeah.
And when it does, I get this feeling, and then I'm like, okay, that's done. I'm not touching it anymore.
Well, what more can you do if you've done the best you could anyway? Yeah. I mean, pretty much, like, literally, okay, it is what it is, yeah. As far as guitars go, like, what's your main guitar? What do you play? What kind of guitar?
I have a new guitar that is super present on this new record. It's a semi-hollow body ES-125.
Oh, yeah. Those are amazing.
It's really cool. It's from 1954.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and it's an amazing shape. Really amazing shape. I found it online, and I bought it, like, without playing it.
Sight unseen.
Yeah, which is really weird, but it was a good deal on it, and I had played a few of them in other places. So I just ordered it, and I got it, and it's really great. It's really inspiring me a lot because it's got it's just so versatile. It's really warm, which I love with my voice. And then it can crunch and rock out, but it's also got these beautiful, like little picky tones also. So I feel like that's my main axe right now. And then I have a Martin Jumbo that I've had for many years. That's like, that's my baby. Like so many songs written on that thing, and it's been so many countries and places. So survived airplanes, etc.
Yeah, that's really you're just a woman of, huge balls. Like that's risky to buy a 54 ES 125 sight unseen. It's not like it's a new one where, okay, I could send it back. Did you buy it from a dealer or a person?
It was at a store.
Oh, okay.
It was at a store. And I mean, if it was really screwed up, I'm sure I could have returned it, but it turned out to be even better than I.
Do you have it handy? Like, is it close by?
Yeah.
Can I see it? Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Wow. It's a sunburst, but it's sunburst, but it's more like cherry burst. It's really pretty. It's got the P90.
Yeah.
Wow. Really pretty.
What's happening here? Doesn't like being held in that position. Oh, it's rattling. It's weird. The sunburst is actually something that someone did, like they think in the 60s, because the year they made this, they only had kind of like a brown burst.
Yeah. That looks great. It's a beautiful guitar.
It's really cool. I don't know. I'm not sure what's buzzing here, but it sounds great plugged in.
That sounds great. That's really cool. Thank you for getting that.
Yes.
Okay, so you have that. You have the Martin Jumbo. Anything else?
Yeah, I've got. Here, I'll walk you over there. Let's see. Yeah, why not? So these are this guy. I don't know if you can see that little.
Yeah.
That I bought on a trip in the Philippines. It's pretty cool. I haven't really.
It's a really nice color. It's like honeyburst, sort of. It's a honeyburst acoustic guitar.
Yeah. Little tip, there's all these amazing guitar makers in the Philippines. So if you're ever there, like this is super affordable and it's a really nice instrument. And it's like not a name, it's an Allegre. It's not something fancy, but.
Well, who cares about the name if it sounds good, I mean, like,
Totally.
Yeah. And so then you have looks like an electric resonator.
Yeah. So that's
wild.
This I bought on the internet too. I have a problem.
So it's all good. This is a guitar podcast. Most people are going to be like, yeah, me too.
So this guy is really interesting. It's really way out of tune, but I like to put it into DADGAD, and it sounds great with a slide. I don't play slide yet.
So it's a single. It's a red resonator with a rosewood fretboard, and like it looks like is that a P90 in there, or is it a humbucker, or like a mini humbucker maybe?
I don't know what that is. I don't think it's a P90.
Who makes that? It's
so it's Airline, which is an old, like they made them in the 50s, and then they sort of reintroduced the line. So this is a remake of a guitar from the 60s called a Folk Star, and it's really got this. I'm sorry, it's not tuned, but it's got this kind of plucky, reso sound, but also, you can crank it up and go electric with it. So
that's really cool. What prompted you to get that? Just you like the way that it looked, and you said price is right. I like the way it looked. Let me check it out.
Both of those, and then I listened to a bunch of them online, and just I play a lot with various dobro players and steel players now, and so I wanted to have one, especially as I was demoing out the new songs for the new record, that where I could do like fake little slide parts, just so I could say to the dobro player, like, hey, here's my idea. Yes, it's not in tune, but you get the idea of what it is.
Sure.
Because like I said, I'm not great with the slide.
It's a cool guitar.
Thanks. Yeah. This is one of my first instruments, this bass thingy here. See that? It's We like to call it the Pepto-Bismol bass.
Yeah, it's Pepto-Bismol color. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. And that, my God.
No headstock.
Yeah. It's such a weird thing. I've never seen another one. It's a German company called Rockinger. And it kind of sounds terrible now.
And it's 5-string bass.
But yeah, this is when I was, just starting out as a kid in San Francisco when I played bass for lots of different bands. This was my main axe.
Nice that you still have that.
Yeah.
Amongst all the travels. Did you travel with all these? Like you moved them all to New York and then you moved them all back? You did.
No, these are new. This one went with me. This is new. This is just a regular copy of a P bass, but it sounds good and super useful for if I'm putting down a demo thing. Mm-hmm. I usually hire really good bass players now, but I like to demo everything out if I have an idea or whatever.
I like that you like to demo everything out.
Yeah.
No, it's like you're on top of it and you have your way and it's your music and good for you. Sometimes
a little tiny change in a bass part will change everything. So, if you have an idea, I play with great players, so I will also tell them you go, do you, and then if I don't like it, I'll let you know. But sometimes I'll have an idea and I'm like, this is what I mean. And it helps,
Yeah, it's cool that you could do that. And that looks was that an Epiphone?
Yeah, this is one of those 70s Epiphones with the Gibson headstock. I don't know if you can see that there.
Yeah, it looks great. So that's a really good quality Epiphone, I would imagine, because they were great guitars back then.
This thing is awesome. It really sounds great. I just it's super heavy, so playing a whole set with it is
Yeah.
But this is great. And I know a few people that have this exact guitar, and every time I see it, I get happy because
it's like a 335 basically, but the color it's really dark, really dark. It's a dark honey burst.
Yeah. It's a Sheraton is the name of it.
Oh, okay, cool, very cool.
But during that period in the 70s when Gibson still put their name on the necks and stuff, so
really cool looking guitar. You got some nice guitars there.
Well, thank you.
Very cool.
They all do their own thing. Sometimes a different guitar will inspire a different, song or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, what would be your Desert Island discs? No particular order.
Oh, good. Okay, no order. Okay. Let's see. Which Linda Ronstadt? Probably Living in the USA, Linda Ronstadt. Mm-hmm. Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life. Ricky Lee Jones, whatever that first one is with Chucky's in Love and all that. Mm-hmm. So that's the old school stuff. New school, I'm really, really obsessed with this dude named Fink. Fink. Really got to check him out. He's from the UK. He's a brilliant guitar player and great writer, really soulful voice.
Singer-songwriter kind of music?
Yeah, although it grooves. It grooves pretty hard. Who else? I'm a huge Chris Stapleton fan. That guy could sing the phone book and I'd just be, do you know what I mean?
That's great.
Who else am I listening to a lot? I'd say of all the classic singers, Dolly's great, Joni Mitchell's great, but I'm a Linda Ronstadt girl. She's my one, You're
the first person that's brought her up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. We had all that kind of I guess they call it California country now. Her, James Taylor, Crosby, Stills and Nash. And we had a lot of
Eagles.
The Eagles.
Yeah.
So those are the records that were around, and I really absorbed them, and I didn't think they were cool for a long time, right? Because they were my folks, and then the more I got into songwriting, the more I realized that all those old songs are just kind of in my head, whether I I know it or not, So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Tough question, but I'm really interested in your answer to this one. What do you like most about yourself?
Oh.
Tough question to ask someone who is good at low self-esteem.
Well, you asked what motivates me. This is probably, I like that I'm good at music. I don't find, if it has strings or it makes a noise, I can sit down with it and figure it out. And I'm not a shredder, but I really, like I said before, I love doing that. I get obsessed with something and I can't I wake up and it's 3 hours and I've been playing the piano, So I like that about myself. I think I'm a really loyal friend. And if you're, it takes a while to get to know me, but once we're friends, is pretty much not a lot. There's not very much that I wouldn't do for my friends.
That's nice. Tell me something. Let me ask you this. Something you or someone you miss from your childhood.
Aw, yeah, okay. So my uncle, my mom's brother, left us about 5 years ago. He was a real character. Definitely a Irish drinking type. But he would do some crazy stuff. Like he climbed the Golden Gate Bridge, the towers that go up.
Wow.
Up and down the other side. But the thing is, he did it twice.
Are you allowed to do that? You're not allowed to do that, don't they?
No. He got arrested the second time. I think the first time, maybe they just weren't police, but he said he started out pretty wasted and then when he was at the top, he sobered up.
I was going to say that had to be like an alcohol-related incident. Yeah.
It's windy up there.
Yeah.
Apparently. And then I guess, I don't know if somebody dared him to do it again or what, but the second time, I think he got arrested.
Wow.
For doing that.
Wow.
So, but he's a sweet guy. I used to always, when we moved to the country, we lived in this teeny tiny town called Grayton, and he would always call the house and say "Hey, I want to talk to the prettiest girl in Grayton."
Oh, that's cute. Yeah.
That kind of guy, super positive and just kind of, funny.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Happiest moment or time in your life?
I've been thinking about this a little bit. So I learned to snowboard about 15 years ago. And I learned how to do that with my husband, which was kind of a fun thing because neither one of us was super athletic growing up. But I would say some of the happiest times I've had have been up there on the mountain, staying in a cabin with friends and, going out and just, snowboarding is great because it just clears your mind entirely. Yeah, I was thinking about that because I hurt my knee in November, and so I haven't been snowboarding yet this year. And I'm like, I gotta get back to that. It's just so fun.
So that's your thing. That's what you feel real free up there in the mountain.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And of course, many, many shows where they just have that magical thing.
So when you're in the zone.
Yeah. And not just me, when the audience is in the zone with you. Sure. It's a really powerful feeling. I'm sure you've had lots of people talk about that.
Absolutely. Do you have any non-musical superpowers? You've got to have something as much shit as you've navigated. You got to have something.
Yes. Okay. I have an innate sense of north, south, east, and west.
That is a first. That is really cool.
Which is weird. And I love maps. I love reading maps, which is great because I travel so much. But the weird thing about that is I'm mildly dyslexic. So a lot of times I will go like, let's see, I have to go, which hand is right? Okay, this is Mary hand. So I'll go turn right and I'll point the wrong way.
Okay.
Like, those two, left and right, are really difficult for me.
Sure.
But I always know where north, south, east, and west are.
That's awesome.
That's my super.
That's a first. I'll be honest with you. This is going to be interesting. Has your life been different than what you'd imagined?
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, part of me imagined that I would die very young, right? So there was that. And then, you know, I'm really lucky in that I met my husband when I was 24, and we got married really quickly. And, you know, we've had this long, for the most part, there've been, you know, years that were hard, but pretty happy marriage.
That's great.
Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of it's dumb luck and a lot of it's hard work. But I don't think, I just didn't, if I got past the, am I going to live to 20? Right? Yeah. Then I was like, I didn't see myself like happily married.
Of course. That makes total sense. I mean,
you know.
Of course. How would you?
With a cute dog. You know, like,
yeah.
So, and you know, I love when I'm out on the road, obviously, like I'm in, you know, a club or a bar every night, but when I'm home, a lot of the time I'm just a total homebody. Like, sure. I stay home, we cook, we play with the dog, we go on walks. I mean, it's like a very boring.
Almost every musician is like that.
Yeah.
They're like so like happy to be, they're like very vanilla, boring existences at home because they're thrilled. They're just so happy to be home. You know, they want to be, you know, cooking or something like that is like a treat, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because it can get really wild out there on the road, and that's great. It's interesting. I'm never bored. But I feel like my time at home, a lot of it is there's a lot of recuperation aspect to it.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I won't sleep. I'll go on the road for a month and not sleep very well. And then I come home and I'm like sleeping 8-9 hours a night. And it's like great luxury, you know? So
that's excellent. Yeah. Any hobbies outside of music besides snowboarding?
Snowboarding, which I'm not doing right now. I also really like cycling. My husband got me into that, and I really enjoy it. We've done a couple of cool trips in other countries where you cycle.
Like cycling. Yeah.
Yeah, like we did in
So
Spain.
you guys must be like very good cyclists, because I looked at those things because I kind of like cycling, but it's like, it's work.
It is work.
You got to be really, I mean, like, and they're doing, you know, 15 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour is a good clip on a vacation, especially, you know?
Well, you know, I never worry about going fast, but we do sometimes do distance. And, you know, I do a little less distance than I used to when we started. But, you know, if you can take your time and take breaks, you know, it's fun. And then it's just such a cool way to see a country, because you're going to see stuff you never would see otherwise. Sure.
Up close and personal too.
Yeah.
So where did you do that? In Italy, you said?
We were in Spain, in an area called Andalusia, which is kind of the south. And they have these towns called the Pueblo Blancos, which are these like medieval towns on top of a hill. And as you're riding up, you can see they're all with this white
Holy
stone.
Shit, that's it for me right there. When you're riding up, you're driving up mountains yeah.
Yeah, the bike trip was like from little town to little town. So basically like all morning you go downhill and all afternoon you go uphill.
Yeah, that's...
So when you get there, like they have a nice glass of wine and a swimming pool, and you're like, yes.
Yeah.
And then you've seen like Spain is beautiful.
So many people have told me Spain is their favorite place to travel.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
That's my next question. You've been a lot of places. What's the favorite place you've been?
Oh, that's really tough. I like different places for different things, I think.
Sure.
For touring, I've done northern Germany quite a bit, and I quite like the people there. They're really different as an audience because they're very quiet and attentive, which freaked me out. Like the first few times I played there, I'm like, they hate it. I'm bombing. But then after the show, you know, people mob on you and buy CDs and stuff, and you'll be talking, and then they'll be like, I really liked your third song with the line about the orange grove. And I'm like, wow. Okay.
Whoa. So what are they, like, taking notes or really paying attention there?
Really paying attention, which is cool.
They're not all on their iPhone. They're not on Facebook while you're playing.
Exactly. So I like that. I love playing in the UK too. I mean, it's great because they get my jokes. Hey, and we have such a shared musical history, but there really are differences.
Oh, major.
I'll be in a singer-songwriter round in the UK, and normally, like if I was in a round with people in the US, like, there's 4 people, I would not be the loudest person on the panel, right? If we're doing a songwriter round. Always in the UK, I feel like I'm so American and so loud and obnoxious, but in a good way.
Yeah,
I think we find it entertaining, but the British songwriters have this kind of self-effacing thing where they're like, yeah, here's my song. I hope you like it. They kind of get their shoes and stuff. And that's just not how we're raised up here.
No, they're like,
I'm presenting to you. That's how you do it, So.
That's funny. Where in England do you like?
Well, I love London. I really love Edinburgh, which is, of course, Scotland.
Yeah.
And I've spent a fair amount of time the last couple of years near Bath, sort of in the west part of the country.
Okay.
And A, I have some dear friends out there, and B, the audiences are just great. In general, I just love audiences in the UK. I feel like, for whatever reason, the connection is really there for me. So
very cool. My wife is from there, from the UK.
Nice.
Toughest decision you've had to make, or most difficult thing you've had to do?
Related to music or just?
Your choice. You pick anything you'd like.
Decision. I've been through a couple of really tough band breakups, where, and I honestly, I don't do bands anymore.
Right.
I do my own thing and I hire people. And of course the people I hire become my best friends but I try to have like business stuff be separate from friend stuff.
Yeah.
Because, sharing a musical project with someone is a very intimate kind of a thing. You get really close. I kind of believe that bands are sort of meant to break up, that you come together with people, you make music with them for a while and it's magic. And then this person moves on, or that person, it's feel like having a 5-way marriage. It's never going to work out. Someone's going to be losing. You know what I mean? So, but the feeling about it is the way you would feel about a marriage. Like you get very, very close to people, and it can be really devastating when it ends. And you sit there and think like, oh, am I ever going to have a band again? And all that kind of stuff.
Right. Like, am I ever going to get married again?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been divorced, but I imagine it's much the same feeling like, oh, I don't want to try, This hurts too much. I don't want to try again. But then, you get through it.
Yeah. 2 more questions, and you've been wonderful. Honestly, you're as authentic as your music is. I cannot tell you how nice it's been talking to you.
Thank you.
Anything you regret not doing?
Oh, doing. I mostly do what I want to do.
That's great.
I'm not a person who's like hems and haws too much about stuff, and I do kind of throw myself into things. There's a few like bands, friendships, relationships, things like that I stayed in too long. Sometimes I regret, like, it was going to end anyway. Why did I stick around for so long?
I think everybody, that's like a normal thing. I mean, you don't say like, oh, this relationship's going south, I'm leaving it now. It's like when the pain of staying in it finally becomes greater than the pain of exiting it, that's when you leave. I think that's just a normal for everybody, because that's a very common answer. I wish I did this, that, or it's tough it's like going to the dentist. You don't go the first day you have a toothache. When the pain of not going is greater than the pain of going, you make the appointment, and it just seems like it's human nature, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I could say I regret sticking around too long for some things, but I had to learn the hard way, I guess.
Yeah, we all do. Last question. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of this has been intentional and how much is just a natural part of aging?
I think my natural, or like the person I was as a young adult, really, really nervous and afraid of a lot of things, which doesn't mean that like I said, I've always kind of thrown myself into stuff, but along with looking like I was really brave and throwing myself into stuff was just having this sheer terror. And, the last 10 years, I've just tried to be more chill and just really understand that, like, whatever I'm afraid of, and my anxiety and all that is never comes to pass, and just normal things sometimes make me anxious, like answering the telephone when I don't know who's on the other line, like that's weird to me. But anyway, I think I've gotten a little more chill, where I'm just like,
my son, my middle son, he's almost 27. He sent us something today on Facebook, and it said, worrying. My wife's a bit of a worrier. I'm not. And it said something like, worrying is like walking around outside with an umbrella waiting for it to rain.
Uh-huh.
And I said, man, send that to make sure your mom reads that about 100 times, but, and I thought that was pretty clever, so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I worry a little less, or I just kind of have more of a sense that things are going to work out,
Well, that's what you said you would tell your younger self. Everything's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Right. Again, I can't thank you enough. You're really, really pleasure talking to you. You're a very kind person and very thoughtful of you to be so open. And like I said, it's the same as your music. Let's tell people some stuff about, I know you have a big gig at the Hotel Cafe on the 14th of March. Talk about that.
Yeah. So my name is Pi. My actual birthday is on March 12th, but because it's so close to Pi Day, and Pi Day is now a thing for the last several years, and Facebook and all that, people are always like, hey, happy your day. So I've kind of just taken on Pi Day. Like, all right, that's my day. So we're going to do this show. It's going to be really fun. We're going to have like free pizza because it's Pi Day. And then I'm going to have a lot of the really great people that I've worked with over the years here in LA just get up and do a song or two. So it'll be lots of guests, full band. We'll have the great Butch Norton, who plays with Lucinda and the Eels and all these other people. We'll have the Hall brothers, who are part of my regular band, and then just a bunch of special guests. So
very cool. Fun. And that's at the Hotel Cafe. And does everybody in LA know where that is? Like, do you need to?
People know. Hotel Cafe is down in Hollywood. It's on Cahuenga, just below Sunset. So, yeah, and most people know where it is. Okay. Hotel Cafe, Stage 2. Yeah, and we played there a number of times on my birthday before, so it's a fun.
Very cool.
Silly thing.
And that's March 14th. What time?
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
8 p.m.
And that's 8 sharp. They don't mess around there.
So show up on time. Make your appointments.
Get there at 7:30 and get your free pizza.
And you've learned to show up on time as well.
I have.
Pie will be there on time as well.
I know there's going to be gluten-free pizza because it's LA. Vegan option.
That's so funny. And your new album's coming out later in the year. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Whatever you can, say.
Yeah. So the new album, like I said, features Butch Norton and the Hall brothers, and I'm just really excited for it. Like I said, I was a co-producer on it, so I got to sort of pick and choose where and when. We did a little bit at the Mountain Fever studio in Virginia. We did we did the drums at a place here in LA called New Monkey, which is Elliott Smith's old studio. And then we did a lot of work here at my little home studio. So
awesome.
I'm super excited for you guys to hear that. We'll be playing 1 or 2 of those new songs at the hotel. That's
awesome. Everybody look forward to that. And I would tell everybody a couple of things. Pie's a great singer-songwriter. Her lyrics are really intelligent. Her music is really nice. I'm going to say nice. It's like a bland word, but it's really fucking good. That's not bland, right? That's okay, right? Yeah. Check her out on her website. It's Pie Jacobs, pijacobs.com. And you can find her on Facebook at Pie Jacobs Music. And her YouTube channel is active. Again, it's Pie Jacobs. Instagram and Twitter, she's on there as Pie Jacobs as well. And also, she does a lot of jingle work. So anybody listening, if you are interested in getting with her to do some jingles for you, is there a contact tab on your website?
Yeah, they can just, and you can always email me, pie@piejacobs.com.
There you go.
Easy peasy.
Anything I missed?
No, it's great talking with you.
Thank you. You're
right in there.
Wow, it was you. You jumped right in there. It was great. I mean,
I know you just answered.
Yeah, but you just answered it brutally, honestly, which is like awesome. Usually there's like a warm-up period. It's like you were just like, boom, man, I'm right out there, which is awesome. This is totally cool. And I genuinely appreciate that. Honestly, I really do, because I think it takes a lot to be sincere. So thank you. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it with a friend on your social media channels. We appreciate your support with that. Thanks very much to Pie Jacobs for spending time with us. Please support and check out her music at piejacobs.com. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.